For today's DC Multiverse review, we are looking at the Mcfarlane Collector Edition Zatanna and Detective Chimp. Before I talk about the accessories and the figures, let's take a quick look at the data profile cards. As you can see, there are two of them, and they both feature beautiful comic book artworks of both of the characters. On the backside, there is a read-up, so let's start with Detective Chimp. His real name is Bobo, and it reads, Chimpanzee Magnificent Finder of Tasty Grubs was a sideshow act dubbed Bobo until he drank from the Fountain of Youth. This granted him a genius intellect and the ability to speak. After solving a murder, he went into business as Detective Chimp, but his non-human status caused legal issues and his agency failed. Crushed, he began drinking heavily at the Oblivion Bar, a watering hole for occult beings run by former rock star Jim Rook, aka Nightmaster. He was also the mystic guardian of other dimensional Mira. And that is the read-up for Detective Chimp. Now let's move on to the read-up for Zatanna. Her real name is Zatanna Zatara, and it reads, The Mistress of Magic, Zatanna Zatara is one of the most powerful magicians in the world, able to alter reality with a single word. As a member of Justice League Dark, she helps defend the Earth from supernatural threats. However, this mighty sorceress has learned that magical power can be a curse as well as a blessing. And that is the read-up for Zatanna. Now, let's move on to the accessories that are included. And only one of these figures have accessories. That is Zatanna. So for the first accessory that she comes with, it is this top hat, as you can see right here. It is nicely sculpted. You can have her wear the top hat. You can have her hold the top hat like this as she's doing a magic trick. Or you can use this top hat for some other character if it does happen to fit their head sculpt. So there are options of how you can use this top hat accessory if you don't want it on Zatanna. For interchangeable hands, she does come with a total of 4 if you count the ones that are on her by default. 1 item holding hand, 1 pre-sculpted hand that's holding her wand, and 2 effect hands that shows that she's using her magical powers. So there are the other additional interchangeable hands, and that is pretty much all the accessories that Zatanna has, which isn't that great because this is very lackluster when it comes to the accessories department, because they could have given her just a few more things in the box, in my opinion. Maybe a few more effect pieces to make it look like she's using other forms of magic power, something to maybe equip to the wand, like she's about to blast something from her wand. You know, there are just all these other options, but it feels like they didn't bother to care, because as you can see, this is all you have for accessories for this one figure here. And for Detective Chimp, he does not have anything at all, which is very unfortunate. They could have given him a tiny magnifying glass that he can hold in his hand, because if you look at his hand over here for his left arm, it actually can hold something if you get it loose, but I don't have any magnifying glass accessories that are like that small for him to hold. Maybe there's like other accessory packs out there that may include something that tiny. I'm not too sure, but yeah, not so great when it comes to the accessories in total here. You're only getting 3 accessories for one figure, and the other one doesn't even have anything. Now, of course, some people might assume that he is an accessory, but he's not, because they're treating him like an actual character. Otherwise, why would he come with a battle card? So I don't think he's considered an accessory. He's more of an additional figure to go with Zatanna, and also expand your Justice League Dark as well, because he is a member of that team, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I don't think he's considered an accessory in this case. And that is everything I have to say for the accessories. And in terms of the rest of the contents in this box, of course, you do have the cards, and of course the DC figure stand. And now, let's move on to the aesthetics of these figures. For the first figure, let's take a look at Detective Chimp, and as you can see, he's much more of a figurine than a figure, and if you're wondering if there are any articulations that are present with this little figurine, he does have some articulation, which I will cover when we talk about the articulations of both of these figures. Now, in terms of actual sculpt details, let's start with the head sculpt here. I love the expression that he has, even though he kind of has a little bit of the side-eye sort of look. It would have been nice if he had like a little cigar right there in his mouth, because I think the character does smoke, besides drinking alcohol. And when it comes to texturing details, you can see that a lot of that is present because he does have fur. After all, he is a chimpanzee, so I do love the sculpted details here with the fur texture and also the green hat that he's wearing on the top of his head. Now, in terms of the body mold, he is wearing a suit, which covers most of the other fur details that would be present underneath. He does have a little tie right here, and the back side of it is just the same color. And for the hands, you can see that there's a little bit of the fur texture continuing downward, and also his fingers are nicely sculpted as well. And this is what I mean. His hand over here looks like it can hold some sort of item, but he doesn't come with anything at all. And for his legs, he does have some very, short legs, but he does have some interesting looking feet because, the chimpanzees' feet look more like their hands, right? Similarly, they can grab stuff, and there are some sculpted details down here as well. So yeah, overall, for this figurine of Detective Chimp, he does have some nice details sculpted to him. The green for the suit could have been done a little bit differently. It's very glossy looking, but overall, not a bad execution of what this character looks like in the comics. And I'm very happy with this because, I didn't think we would ever get a Detective Chimp in this line, but here we have him in a figurine sort of form. I'll take this over not having anything. So there is our look at Detective Chimp. And now let's take a closer look at Zatanna. Let's start with the face sculpt. And in my opinion, I think the face sculpt came out pretty nicely compared to what we saw in the product images, where I can understand why some people were concerned with the face sculpt because they thought it didn't look that good. But this is one of those situations where I feel like the product images don't do the figure justice, and it's not the first time this has happened before where they show product images of figures that they announce, and it turns out that the figure is better in person than it is in those product images. So to me, this face sculpt is not that bad at all. I like the fact that she does have this smiling expression, but of course, this was a missed opportunity on their end to also include some face plates where she has different expressions, because this is something that I really wish most of these figures came with ever since they started doing the faceplate options. I don't know why they only do it to some figures and then some of them don't get it at all. But yeah, the face sculpt overall doesn't look too bad. The hair sculpt is done nicely, as you can see. Now, that will hinder the articulation of the head sculpt for sure, because she's not going to be looking up or down at all, right? She can probably turn her head left and right, but that's about it. Now, when it comes to the details of her costume, you do have a little bit of a sculpted detail right here with the stomach area of whatever this piece is supposed to be. I believe it might be a corset or something. Do correct me in the comments below what this is called. It is nicely sculpted and it's just painted in all yellow. She does have a bow tie up top that is also sculpted. And for the fishnet part of her legs right here with the upper thighs, I'm calling them fishnets because I don't know what the heck they're actually called. These are all just like printed on from what I can tell. I'm assuming that's how they did that. So there is no sculpt lines or anything. And for the bottom parts of her legs, it's pretty much just all black paint all the way down to her shoes. So everything else is done very simplistically in terms of the paint colors. Now, of course, her coat here that she's wearing is a separate piece, which connects all the way down here to the back parts of the lower flap of her coat that she's wearing. There is a red color underneath. I'm going to see if I can lift it up so you can get a look of that. There it is. So yeah, it's painted red underneath, which is nice because that does match the source material, where she does have like red coloring in the inside of her coat. And that is pretty much most of the details of her costume. Everything is just very simple looking, and that's all I can really point out. Now, when it comes to her hands, where she's wearing her gloves, these are just painted white, and as you can see, this is what the wand looks like in her hand for the pre-sculpted hand right there. It is just a gray color wand. I don't know what color her wand actually is in the comics. Maybe it's like a brown color. I'm not too sure. And yeah, that is all the details that I can really point out for this figure. Overall, it's nice and it gets the job done for anyone who needs a Zatanna figure for their shelf. So yeah, that is the aesthetics portion for both Detective Chimp, let's bring him back in, and Zatanna. And now let's move on to the articulation. Starting off with Detective Chimp, as I said, he does have articulation, but it's really basic. So for the head sculpt, he can turn his head to left and right like this. There is no tilting or looking up or down. All you can really do is just turn his head like that. For his arms, he can swivel them upward like this. He can't lean them out this way. It's pretty much just like a full 360 rotation. Same thing on this side of the arms. That's all it can do as well. And for the articulation down here with the legs, he doesn't have any articulation here, so instead it's basically just a waist swivel, so he can turn his body like that. And that is pretty much all the articulation for Detective Chimp. It's very basic, but at least it's there. So that's not bad. And now let's move on to Zatanna. For Zatanna, let's start with her head sculpt, and as I mentioned with the hair sculpt here, it will get in the way, so it's going to be very restricting. So as you can see, she can turn her head to the left a little bit and to the right, but when it comes to looking up or down, you're not going to get much of that movement. She can tilt her head side to side, so the head sculpt articulation is very restricting overall. For the movements of her arms, she can lift them out this much. She can swing them back and forth for no problems. She does have a upper bicep swivel here. She also has double jointed in the articulation of her arms. And she does have a swivel in the hand as well as wrist articulation. For her torso, it is not the usual torsos where we have a upper and lower cuts. Instead, this is one entire piece. So most of the movement is coming from the waist. And as you can see, she can swivel really good from the waist area. She can move this much in terms of the range of motions. Leaning forward, not the best. Leaning back, also not the best. So yeah, that is pretty much all the movement for the torso and the lower part of her body. And for the articulation of her legs, can she do the splits? She can spread out her legs pretty good compared to some figures. Can she swivel the thighs? There is a little bit of thigh swivel, actually, for the upper part here, so it actually moves. So it's not frozen shut. And can she kick out? That would be a pretty decent kick, better than some figures can kick out. She does have double jointed in the legs. I believe this side is just really stiff on my copy. Let me see if the other leg can actually do it. There we go. There's the double jointed in the legs. And for the articulation of her feet, she does have articulation down here and swivel and toe articulation. And that is pretty much all the articulation for Zatanna. So you can get her into some decent action poses, but keep in mind that the head sculpt and the body here are gonna restrict some of those poses. So it's decent, but it's not the best. And that is pretty much it for the articulation for Zatanna and Detective Chimp. So here is Zatanna with one of her magic effect hands where she's using her powers. And as you can see, she can have it pose like this where maybe she's about to light something on fire, or you can change it where maybe she's going to blast somebody in that direction. However you want to use these hands, that is an option. And for her top hat, it goes on the top of her head really easily. All you have to do is basically just put it on like this, and there you go. There is Zatanna with her top hat. And that is pretty much how you can use that accessory. Now, in terms of having her hold the top hats, let me try to do this on camera. So this item holding hand is very tricky, but I think I can probably get it into the hand, so she's holding it maybe. I'm not too sure. Let me try. I've never done this before because I haven't had time to pose this figure, but yeah, you can have her hold it like this, I guess. Here we go. Let's try this. Let's pop this hand off. Let's put this hand back on. And maybe she'll hold it. Oh, no, it fell. But yeah, if you just like slide it in there, it should work, theoretically. I'm not doing a good job here because I'm doing this on camera. But you get the point. You can have her hold the hat as an option so she can be doing a magic trick with the hat or something. And I feel like the figure is going to fall. And you can have her with both of these hands as well if you want to. That's another option. So it just depends on how you want to pose your figure with these accessories. And now, let's move on to the comparisons. For the first comparison, here is Zatanna and Detective Chimp next to John Constantine, who of course is the leader of the Justice League Dark, and also Zatanna's romantic interests. Not bad, having these two figures next to each other, and also next to Detective Chimp. And also, this shows you Detective Chimp is actually the right scale when he's standing next to these other two figures here, because he's a very short character in the comics. So that's the first comparison. Here is the second comparison with Etrigan the Demon, another member of the Justice League Dark. There is that. And for the third figure, here we have is Deadman next to these two. Not bad at all. Also another member of this team, for anyone who doesn't know. And for the final comparison, he's not going to fit in frame because he's way too tall. Here is Zatanna and Detective Chimp next to Swamp Thing. And as you can see, his head is all the way up there, and this table was not meant for reviewing Megafigs, but there he is. So that is all the comparisons. And just for fun, I do want to show what they all look like together. So let me just like center her right there. Let's put Detective Chimp right in front. Let's have John Constantine right here. Let's have Deadman on this side. Let me see if I can fit them all in frame. I don't think I can, but there's Swamp Thing in the back, which unfortunately you can't see his head. And then here's Etrigan the Demon. So yeah, this is the working Justice League Dark team that I have for my shelf right now currently. There are still a few members of this team that I don't think have received figures yet from Mcfarlane Toys, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. We just got to work with what we have, unfortunately. So there is my review for Zatanna and Detective Chimp. If you found today's review informative, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.